Hello and welcome to Chapter 9 of Amazing Maurice. Farmer Fred opened his door and saw that all the animals of Furry Bottom were waiting for him. "We can't find Mr. Bunsey or Ratty Rupert," they cried. "At last," said Melissa. She can't say thanks to the rats directly, though. It's too embarrassing, too childish, too... Mr. Bunsey. "Mr. Bunsey," squeaked Peaches, and it really was a squeak, a word that came out as a sort of little squeak. "What about Mr. Bunsey?" said Keith. Melissa reached into her pocket and pulled out her packet of bent hairpins. "Oh, some books some silly woman wrote," she said, poking at the lock. "Stupid stuff for ickle kids. There's a rat and a rabbit and a snake and a hen and an owl, and they all go around wearing human clothes and talking to humans, and everyone's so nice and cozy it makes you absolutely sick. Did you know my father kept them all from when he was a kid? Mr. Bunsey has an adventure, Mr. Bunsey's busy day, Ratty Rupert sees it through. He read them all to me when I was small, and there's not an interesting murder in any of them." "I think you'd better stop," said Keith. He didn't dare look down at the rats. But she doesn't stop. She keeps going on about what lame books the Mr. Bunsey series is. "Oh boy," said Maurice. Keith looked down. Peaches and Dangerous Beans were gone. "I never had the heart to tell them," he said. "They thought they were all true." "In the land of Furry Bottom, possibly," said Melissa, "but not here. You upset them. Look, shall we get out of here before the rat catchers come back?" Keith does not want to go. He wants to stay and confront the rat catchers, not comfort them. Confront them. They argue while Maurice watches them. "How the humans shout," hissed a tiny voice in his head. "Is that my conscience?" Maurice thought. His own thought said, "What, me? No, but I feel a lot better now that you've told them about additives." He shifted uneasily from paw to paw. "Well then," he whispered, looking down at his stomach. "Is that you, additives?" He'd been worried about that ever since he'd realized he'd eaten a changeling. They had voices, right? Supposing you ate one, supposing their voice stayed inside of you, suppose the dream of additives wandered around inside of him. That sort of thing could seriously interfere with the cat's napping time. It really could. "No," said the voice, like the sound of wind in distant trees. "I am Spider." "Oh, you're a spider. I can take on a spider with 3 paws tied behind my back." "Not a spider. Spider!" The word actually hurt. It hadn't before. "Now I'm in your head, cat. Cats, as bad as dogs, worse than rats. I'm in your head, and I will never go away. I'll be in your dreams." "I'm not looking for trouble. Just tell me how to get out of here, and I'll be out of your hair, or your legs, or furry bits, or whatever." "You don't want to run away." "That's right," thought Maurice. "I don't want to. Oh no, I do want to run away. I'm a cat," he muttered. "No cat is going to control me." "You've tried." "Yes, but then you were strong. Now your mind runs in circles and wants someone else to do the thinking for it. I can think for you. I can think for everyone. I will always be with you." The voice fades. "Right," thought Maurice. "Party's over. The rats have rats and the humans have each other, but I've just got me." "Excuse me," he said. "Are we going or what?" "What?" said Keith. "I'd prefer going." "They've called in a rat piper, Maurice, and the clan is all over the place. He'll be here in the morning. A real rat piper." "A real rat piper, Maurice, not like me. They have magical pipes, you know. Do you want to see that happen to our rats?" "Well, not exactly see." "Right, so we're not going to run away." "Oh, and what are we going to do?" said Melissa. "We're going to talk to the rat catchers when they come back," said Keith. He had a thoughtful look. "And what makes you think they'll want to talk to us?" "Because if they don't talk to us," said Keith, "they're going to die." The rat catchers arrive about 20 minutes later. They're arguing about what a shit night this was. Ratcatcher 2 complains about it a lot. ignoring repeated orders to shut up. Finally, Ratcatcher 1 says, "Shut up, alright, we'll leave now. We'll take the money and nick a boat down at the jetty, okay? We'll leave the stuff we haven't sold, and we'll just go. The jig's up. The bird has flown. The cat is out of the bag." Did you say that? Say what? Did you just say I wish I was? Me? No. Ratcatcher 1 goes on about it for a while longer before asking, "What's in the kitty? What did you just say?" "What? Me? Nothing. Cup of tea. You always feel better after a cup of tea. Didn't you just say kitty yourself?" "I just asked if you wanted a cup of tea. Honest, are you alright?" Ratcatcher 1 stared at his face, as if trying to see the lie on it. Yeah, I'm fine. 3 sugars then." As he sips, he continues monologuing. "How did we get into all this? I mean, all this. Sometimes I wake up at night and I think it's stupid, this. And then I come into work and it all seems sensible. Stealing, yes. Breeding, yes. But I don't know. I didn't used to be the kind of bloke that tied up kids. Is this that new tea?" "Nah, it's just all green, like normal." "Tastes a bit different," he said, and drained the tea. "Okay, let's go." "That's about enough," said a voice overhead. "Now stand still and listen to me. If you run away, you'll die. If you talk too much, you'll die. If you wait too long, you'll die. If you think you're smart, you'll die. Any questions?" A few wisps of dust drifted down from the rafters. The Ratcatchers looked up and saw a face. "It's that damn kid's Mog," said Ratcatcher 1. "I told you it was looking at me in a funny way." "If I was you, I wouldn't look at me," said Maurice. "I'd look at the rat poison." Ratcatcher 2 turned to look at the table. "Here, you stole some rat poison," he said. "Oh," said Ratcatcher 1, who was a much faster thinker. "Steal it?" said the cat on high. "We don't steal, that's thieving. We just put it somewhere else." "Oh," said Ratcatcher 1, sitting down suddenly. "It's dangerous stuff," said Ratcatcher 2, looking for something to throw. "You had no business touching it. You tell me where it is right now." Keith and Melissa climbed up through the trapdoor. "Now that you mention it," said Keith, "I think I put most of it in the sugar." Darktan woke up. His back was on fire and he couldn't breathe. He could feel the weight of the trap's jaw pressing down on him and the dreadful bite of steel in his belly. "I shouldn't be alive," he thought. "I wish I wasn't." He tries to move out of the trap, but he can't. "Darktan?" The voice was a little way off. He tried to answer it, but couldn't. It called to him again. It smelt like nourishing. "Gah," he managed. "You're caught in a trap." That was too much for Darktan, even if every word was agony. "Oh, really? I'll go and fetch someone, shall I?" No. Tell me, what kind of trap?" "It's rusted." She gnaws through the rust to read a label. "A Nugent Brothers Breakback Mark 1. Older than any he's ever seen." He tries to coach her through disarming it for as long as he can, while he drifts towards the lights, drifting happily, no pain, wondering about the big rat underground and the bone rat. The purple light darkened. It looked like a tunnel. "And that's where he lives," thought Darktan. "That's the tunnel of the big rat. How simple it all is." The light grew bigger, and it did indeed begin to look like a rat. There was a noise, it filled the world, and then terrible, terrible pain was back, and the big rat shouted in the voice of nourishing, "I gnawed through the spring, sir. I gnawed through the spring. It was old and weak, sir. Probably why you weren't cut in half, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Darktan, sir. I gnawed right through the spring, sir. Are you still dead, sir?" Ratcatcher 1 leapt out of his chair, staggered, and sat down again. Oh no, I knew that tea tasted funny." Ratcatcher 2 was pale green. "And don't even think about attacking us," said Melissa. "We might get hurt and forget where we left the antidote. You don't have time to be attacking us." "What poison was it?" Ratcatcher 1 asked. "By the smell of it, it was the one the rats called number 3, said Keith. "It was in a big bag labelled Kill-A-Lot." "The rats call it number 3, said Ratcatcher 2. Ratcatcher 1 glared at him. We heard them talk, Bill, in the pit, remember? He looked back at Cleve. Nah, you don't look like the type who'd poison a man to his face. How about me? Said Melissa. She would, said Ratcatcher 2. She's weird. You said something about an antidote, said Ratcatcher 1, but there's no antidote for To Kill a Lot. I told you there is, said Keith. The rats found one. Ratcatcher 2 begs as they interrogate him, while the edge on Maurice's voice is enough for Ratcatcher 1 to talk. They tell the kids and Maurice everything, ham and pork and what happened in the pit and their plan. Ratcatcher 1 clutched his stomach. I can feel things happening, he said. That's just your imagination, snapped Keith. It is? Yes, don't you know anything about the poisons you use? Your stomach won't start to melt for at least 20 minutes, and after that, if you blow your nose, your brain will, well, let's just say you'll need a really big handkerchief. And then, if you just don't go to the lavatory, don't ask why, just don't. It'll all be over in an hour, except for the using. Melissa was taking notes. This is inhuman, shouted Ratcatcher 2. No, this is very human. This is extremely human. There isn't a beast in the world that'd do what you do to another living thing, what your poisons do to rats every day. Now tell me about the rats in the cages. They talk, but when they get up to whose idea it was, they seem a bit confused. His, said the rat catchers together. Mine, says a voice in Maurice's head. What does not kill us makes us strong, the strong breed. Ask them what's in the other cellar, said Maurice. What's in the other cellar then? Asked Keith. Oh, just more stuff. Old cages and stuff, said Ratcatcher 2. What else? Said Maurice. Ratcatcher 2 starts to talk before he catches himself. Just old cages. Iron plague. Don't go down there. He's lying, said Melissa. No antidote for him. I had to do it. You gotta do one to join the guild. That's the guild's secret, Ratcatcher 1 snapped, his stomach rumbling. What was it you had to do? Asked Keith. Make a rat king. Ratcatcher 2 burst out. A rat king? What's a rat king? Ratcatcher 1 was in tears now. And it's still alive? Said Melissa. Keith turned to her in amazement. You know about rat kings? Of course, there's lots of stories about them. Antidote, please, moaned Ratcatcher 1. My stomach feels like there's rats running around in it. You made a rat king, said Melissa. Oh dear, well, we left the antidote in that little cellar you locked us in. I should hurry if I were you. The rat catchers do hurry, and the kids wedge the door behind them. There's enough antidote there for one person, said Keith. But I'm sure you can work it out, in a humane sort of way. Dark Tan tried to get his breath back. It's amazing, said Nourishing. You were dead in the trap, and now you're alive. Nourishing, said Dark Tan carefully. Yes, sir. I'm very grateful, but don't get silly. The spring was stretched, and weak, and rusted, and blunt, that's all. But there's marks all around you. No one's ever come out of his trap before, except the Mr. Squeakies, and they were all made of rubber. I was just lucky. No rat has ever come out of a trap before. Did you see the big rat? The what? The big rat. Oh, that, said Dark Tan. He was going to add, no, I don't go in for that nonsense, but stopped. He could remember the light, and then the darkness ahead of him. It hadn't seemed bad. He'd almost felt sorry that Nourishing got him out. In the trap, all the pain had been a long way off, and there had been no more hard decisions. He settled for saying, Is Ham and Pork all right? Ham and Pork is injured, but Nourishing is optimistic about his quick recovery. He's had worse. As they climb up to the beam again, they see the chaos. More rats have taken the Jacko route to freedom, and men and dogs are fighting each other and searching for the rats. Dark Tan is sure that things weren't so complicated before the change. Bad things happened, good things too, but there was just a faint sensation that more things would happen. It wasn't thinking. Now ideas seemed to spill into Dark Tan's weary head. He saw dangerous beings in his mind and thought, he's a trap hunter, just like me. He goes ahead of us and finds the dangerous ideas, thinks about them, and traps them into words, and makes them safe and shows us the way through. Much later on, When Nourishing was old and grey around the muzzle and smelt a bit strange, she dictated the story of the climb and how she'd heard Dark Ten muttering to himself. The Dark Ten that she'd pulled out of the trap, she said, was a different rat. It was as though his thoughts had slowed down but gotten bigger. The strangest bit, she said, was when they reached the beam. Dark Ten made sure that Ham and Pork was all right, and then he picked up the match he'd shown to Nourishing. He struck it on an old bit of iron, said Nourishing. And then he walked along the beam with it flaring, and down below I could see all the crowd, and the hay racks and the straw all over the place, and the people milling around just like rats. And I thought, if you drop that, mister, the place will fill up with smoke in a few seconds, and they've locked the doors, and by the time they realise they'll be caught like rats in a barrel, and we'll be along the gutters. But he just stood there, looking down, until the match went out. Then he put it down and helped us with Ham and Pork and never said a word about it. I asked him about it later on, after all the stuff with the piper and everything, and he said, yes, rats in a barrel. And that's all he said about it. What was it you really put in the sugar? Asked Keith, as he led the way back to the trapdoor. Cascara, said Marissa. That's no poison, is it? No, it's a laxative. What's that? It makes you go. And you just happened to have it on you? Yes, of course. It was in the medicine bag. She goes on to explain all the situations in which it might be useful. It's good to be prepared. You'd end up taking just about everything in case of anything, Keith said. That's why it's such a big bag, Melissa said calmly, pulling herself through the trapdoor. How much did you give them? Lots, but they should be fine so long as they don't take too much antidote. What did you give them for the antidote? Cascara. Melissa, you are not a nice person. You wanted to poison them with the real poison. But giving it to them as the antidote as well, that's clever, narratively satisfying, I suppose. Melissa notices that Keith's cat is no longer following them. When Keith objects to Maurice being called his cat, she launches into a story about another smart cat with a pet boy, Puss in Boots, though she changes the rats into pigeons. Look, says Keith finally. Are there really stories about rat kings? I've never heard of it. How does it work? Not the way you think. They really do exist, just like the sign outside. The rats with their tails all knotted together. They're interrupted by a loud knocking. It's the men from the pit, who are surprised to see these two kids and not the rat catchers. After much convincing the kids to let them in, and convincing that the rat catchers aren't here, and telling her all of the events of the day, Melissa rolls her eyes. All right, yes, she said. They're here and a talking cat helped us to poison them and now they're locked in a cellar. The man looked at her. Yeah, right, said the leader, turning away. If you see him, just tell him we're looking for him, okay? And that's the end. That's the end of chapter 9. And that's the end of, hopefully not for another several months. Hopefully I actually do this and get on a schedule and do it like I want to do it. Because I want to do it. It's a fun thing, and it takes some effort, so that's why I'm not doing it, because I'm a lazy sack of shit, but I want to do it. So that's what I'll do. And then, if I ever get popular, this series will be burned away from everyone because of how intensely embarrassing me constantly saying 1 subscriber, and I'm just doing it for me, and I don't care. Every single thing is probably gonna be burned at some point, and I'll never release these ever. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you for listening. Whichever number of subscriber you are. Thank you for listening. Or even not subscriber, even just whatever number of listener you are. Thanks. Bye.